So if you're interested in getting additional training for your abs at the end of a workout or just throughout the week, the best way to do or to go about that is to think about the building blocks of training the abs and get enough knowledge to kind of create and craft your own ab routines rather than always looking up another ab workout or another ab program to follow. Learn the pieces and then you'll be able to build your own. So the main things to walk away with to understand are the three primary movements of the abs. They do a lot of things, but if you address these three movements, you'll pretty much have everything covered. The first one's called anterior flexion, and this is what most people do when they train their abs. Sit-ups, crunches, anything that makes you move your chest closer to your knees, right? So even hanging patterns where you're lifting your legs, these are all anterior flexion. We also have lateral flexion, and that's anytime that we're moving side to side, stretching and contracting it through the rib cage area. That's a lateral flexion. And rotation, right? Obviously rotation is anytime we're twisting, particularly when these shoulders and hips are moving independently and you're not just moving from the feet or knees, right? So anytime your spine is twisting and rotating, we have core rotation. So these three things work very different muscle groups. There's always some overlap, but the classic six-pack abs that people try to train for is all anterior flexion. We have obliques more involved, or different layers, right? There's a lot of different layers to the abdominals as well. And depending on the pattern and the movement, you're hitting them all a little bit differently. They're also all very important for bracing your core during other exercises, squats and deadlifts, and you actually get a fair amount of deep abdominal training in those movements as well. But the simplest way to program a additional ab workout on your own time would be to pick one of each. Something anterior flexion, something lateral flexion, something rotational, and then perform 3 to 5 sets of 8 to 20 reps on those patterns, right? It's not a very magical set of programming. Challenge yourself, push yourself. And the same principles apply as with regular weightlifting. You still want to have linear progression. You want to add load to those movements. There's some kind of understanding or I won't fully say myth, but preference out there of just always adding reps, and people are doing sets of 30, 40, 50 crunches. Well, get a dumbbell on your chest and drop those reps back down, make them heavier, right? Don't do 70 lateral flexion movements, right? Like, get a heavy dumbbell and do 15 to 20. So always same rules as regular lifting. Emphasize your stretch, focus on your contractions, load, progress over time. So you might, depending on the equipment you have available, right, you might pick one workout and go crunches, right, that anterior flexion, grab a band or a cable, do some chops across, there's your rotation, and then grab something heavy and do a set of side bends, right? Now, all of these things can be done at various angles with various pieces of equipment. So for my anterior flexion, you've got your crunches, your full sit-ups, leg lifts, hanging leg raises, cable crunches, and many others. Your side bends, right? You could do that dumbbell, kettlebell, you could do a side bend. Up here where your shoulder's more loaded, you could pull a cable and then stretch with the cable. You could pull a band, stretch with the band. Lots of side bend. Side planks, you could even move through a side plank. And your twisting and chopping is the same thing. Band, cable, low to high, high to low. You could even do the Russian twist kind of movements with dumbbells or things in a crunched position, get a little crossover between the two patterns. So anytime that you see or look up ab exercises, just mentally or physically, log those into anterior flexion, rotation, or lateral flexion primarily, and you'll have all these options to kind of build and pick pieces from. Now you could obviously have a day where you say, I just want to focus on rotation today. Great, pick 2 or 3 rotational exercises and smash it that way. Or pick, different pairs or however you want to do it throughout the week. But make sure you're addressing all 3 of those patterns. The other thing to bear in mind is you have movements and you have anti-movements for each of these. So not only does the core move us through ranges of motion. It also helps brace us against motion. Now, all muscles do this in some sense, but the core particularly has a job of this for keeping your spine safe. So we have movements where we can do anterior flexion, right? But we also have movements where we can do anterior anti-flexion, or resisting that movement, right? So that would be even something as simple as a held crunch where you're just braced, or something like a plank, right? In a plank, you're not actively contracting or shortening, I should say. You're not shortening those muscles, you're not moving through a range of motion, but it's still braced, right? So bracing into a plank, for example, would be a resisted or an anti-movement for the anterior flexion. Rotation, right? Maybe instead of actually actively chopping, you pull that cable out and you just hold it here, and it's pulling you that way, or a band, or you could even go through some pressing motions here, a Pallof press, and instead of the core rotating you, it's resisting that rotation, right? Lateral flexion, same thing. You could hold a side plank. You could, instead of doing side bends, brace up against it, make it look light, and walk single arm heavy carries. So mixing in those variables are great options. You can find tons of ab routines out there, but I think the best way is to learn these bits and pieces, and then you can plug them in based on areas you want to focus on, preferences, and like I said, 3 to 5 sets, 8 to 20 reps, 10 to 20 reps. There's a lot of variability there. You just want to feel like you're doing hard work, not endless volume. If you're doing 20, 30, 40 reps, and then you finally get a burn, and it burns, you gotta catch your breath, you're probably being inefficient. It should feel very similar to how you load other things. The abs can probably take a few extra reps over the average pattern. For the most part, load them heavy, progress the reps or sets or loads over time, and you should have a pretty good never-ending stream of how to kind of build your own additional ab workouts.